Now that I've done all sorts of videos here on my channel, from anime and manga series analysis to a long ass response video to a mangaka spotlight video to a video of me clumsily talking about and simping Gintama, I wanted to do something different and fresh here. Something fun that I haven't done on my channel before, and something that YouTubers and any Twitter accounts have been milking for years now. Tier lists. And not just any tier list, I'll be tier listing every single Gintama character. And if you don't know this about me, Gintama has my favorite cast of characters in all of anime, and it's just one of my favorite shows in general. Characters are all just extremely fun, unique, complicated, awesome characters that you can't help but love. So I thought it'd be a fun idea to talk about them to you guys here and make a tier list comparing them. This video will obviously contain spoilers depending on the character I'll be talking about. So if you haven't watched Gintama, please don't watch the rest of this video. If you've enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm aiming to get around 1000 subscribers by the end of this year or by the start of next year. So the support helps me a lot. And now, without further ado, let's get to the tier list. Starting with Hataoji. I'm not even gonna lie here, I really like him. I think he's a consistently funny character who always makes me smile. His voice acting is amazing, and the time that he voiced Takasugi is one of the most memorable parts of Gintama, at least in my opinion. His soundtrack is hilarious, and I just enjoy his presence a lot. He's straight up going to be in the B tier category for me. Despite me enjoying his character though, I don't think he's good enough to be above that, as he's a simple gag character. And since we started with Hataoji, let's also add his uncle character and put him straight into the mid category. I don't like him all that much, but I don't hate him either. He's just an okay sidekick to a pretty good comic relief character. Sakamoto. I don't know if it's a hot take, but I find him to be super boring. I don't find him funny at all. His character work isn't as impressive as a lot of the other characters. Yes, he doesn't have as much screen time as compared to a lot of the other great characters, but there's an equal amount of characters in Gintama that don't have much screen time but are great characters nonetheless. So he's getting a B tier from me. Kagura. Easily a triple S tier character for me. My daughter and one of my favorite female characters ever. If she was real, I would have definitely adopted her. I love everything about her. I love how she can be crude and innocent at the same time. The character arcs related to her are some of the absolute peaks of Gintama, and the dynamic she has with everyone else are all funny and interesting. She's consistently funny, and Kugimiya Rie is such a goated voice actress. The dynamic she has with her family and the Eurosia is something I find truly special. Her journey from being alone and from a dysfunctional family to finding a home and people that she could truly call a family is something absolutely heartwarming and brilliant. I just have nothing about her that I don't enjoy. Sorachi, definitely a monkey tier for me. Sorachi is a really fascinating mangaka. He might be one of the most humble creators that I know. The way he's self-aware about the flaws of Gintama, making fun of it every step of the way, and acting as if he's an immature author with Gintama's poop and piss jokes. Yet in actuality, the way he handles some of the character arcs, the messages, the ships are all filled with so much emotional maturity in them. And not just that, when Weekly Shonen Jump magazine decided to cancel Gintama in its final arc, he went off to finish it in another magazine to make sure Gintama ends its story the right way, arguably creating an ending that's better than everything else in Weekly Shonen Jump history. It really shows the type of author and the person that he is. I'm genuinely grateful to him for writing one of the best stories that I've ever experienced. Let's take a look at the Yagyu family up next. Kyubei. I really enjoy her character, how she was raised as a boy despite being born as a girl, but in later years decided to follow neither femininity nor masculinity but live only as Yagyu Kyubei. She's a great representation of an LGBT character in Gintama. I also really like the relationship she has with Otae. Definitely a A tier. Yube's father and grandfather are going to be in the C tier for me because I do think they're good characters, but they don't have enough moments or focus to them to be higher than that personally. Tojo, Yube's right hand man and loyal servant character. I think he's a really sweet character. After seeing Kyubey break down at an early age because of the pressure of being a boy of the Yagyu household, he's always been extremely protective and dedicated to her ever since. This desire of wanting Kyubey to become feminine, expressed in a comedic way, is something I find cute because it has to do with what he saw when he was young. Highest of the B tiers. Katsura. I feel like I like Katsura more than most Gintama fans. He was my favorite Gintama character for the entirety of the first season, and I love his presence and charisma a lot. One of my favorite parts of the Gintama cast is how a lot of these characters feel like a genuine protagonist of the series if the perspective of the story had changed a little. And Katsura is one of those characters who embody this feeling the most, trying to rebel against the almighty shogunate and the Tendoshu, but doing it in a heroic and peaceful way unlike Takazuki, being amazingly humble enough to make sure random kids like Kagura and Shinpachi are happy and safe, despite how busy he should be. On top of that, he's the funniest character in the entire show, a very high favorite of mine in the SS tier. Inoue, a bright sun that warms the Yoshiwara women around her with her magnificence and conviction. She was a really good character. I liked the dedication she had towards Seita and Yoshiwara. B tier. Suzuran. I think I like her more than Inoue. One of the many things Gintama does extremely well is its portrayal of characters from all facets of life, including its portrayal and representation of prostitutes. Suzuran is so real and can be anyone in our world, and that makes her somewhat impactful for me, and her tragedy sticks in my mind. Strong B tier. Seita. Seita is okay. Tsukuyo. Tsukuyo is another one of my favorites. I just love everything about her character and personality. Her character design is aesthetic in every sense of the word, and I love how active of a character Tsukuyo was from the very beginning. She's been doing everything she can to protect Yoshiwara as its Dark Knight for a long time before Yorozuya even came and clashed with Hosen. I love her relationship and parallels with Gintoki. It's my favorite ship of the series, and I love how independent she is. She's a charming and amazingly written character. S tier for sure. Elizabeth. I just love the idea of his character. He is so fun, and the dynamic he has with Katsura is so chaotic and weirdly wholesome. He's way too funny, and I love the mystery behind what is underneath his clothes. I didn't really like the reveal it had in the Silver Soul arc. I think I'd prefer it to be kept a mystery, so that was a little disappointing, but overall he's super fun and adds a lot of value to the cast, and I just love him. A tier. Mutsu. Just like Sakamoto, I'm not a big fan of Mutsu either. I do enjoy the element of space adventure and the lore that they bring to the series, but I'm not a fan of both of their characters. I'm not sure why that's the case, but I don't find them that appealing. I do like her a bit more than Sakamoto though. I enjoy her sternness and earnestness. Otsu. D tier and my least favorite character of the entire series. She's just not funny at all or cute for that matter. Her songs are garbage, and the arcs related to her are quite decent because of characters like Shinpachi, Takatin and Hijikata. And she's just a stinky character on her own that I don't enjoy at all. Hosen. I thought Hosen was a really good antagonist. He was the first antagonist who stood out as this fearsome character who Gintoki and the rest of the cast might not beat. The screen presence he had and how he helps establish the might and the lore of the Yato clan, and I genuinely appreciate the humanity in his character as well. Despite being one of the strongest people in the universe, he was a simp who couldn't let go of his pedophilic crush. Humanizing antagonists and showing their side of the story have always been an aspect of Gintama that I always love, and a big part of what makes it special. and I really appreciate what they did with Hosen. Aetia, Jiraiya, another great antagonist of a similar vein, but unlike Hosen's presence, what I enjoyed about his character is how thematically relevant he is to one of the biggest themes of Gintama and how he parallels Shoyo. His dynamic with Tsukio is fascinating, and on top of that, I really enjoyed the backstory of him not being able to save his sister even though he tried his best. Jiraiya was a great character, and the Red Spider arc as a whole deserves more love. Genkai. I'm going to put Genkai in the B tier category. I think he's an underappreciated character. I loved the sacrifice he did in Silver Soul arc, with him sacrificing his passion for science and the love for his metallic children for the greater good of Kabukicho and Edo. He's one of my favorite minor characters of Kabukicho for sure. Tama. Tama is an absolutely adorable, amazing character of Gintama. I love the innocence she brings to the story. I love all the sacrifices she's done for the other characters. I love her relationship with the Yorozuya family and especially Otose. Catherine. She's another character that I really love. I find her to be super wholesome, and the Sundere love she has with Otose melts my heart. Otose. Otose is an amazing character. Damn, I just realized I love all of the Yorozuya family so much. I think they're all absolutely amazing characters with a lot of depth and distinct personalities. It's a bit harder for me to describe what it is about Otose that really makes me love her. I guess she reminds me of my grandmother a little bit, or just good grandmothers in general. She's very strict on the outside and wholesome and cute on the inside. Pirako. I didn't actually like Pirako during my first watch of Gintama. I found her to be kind of annoying and just looked at her from the surface level. But after I had a recent rewatch of the series before the movie came out, I really liked her character and what Sorachi wanted to say through her. Sorachi wanted to showcase the importance of a father having an active role in his daughter's life. The envy she had towards Otose and the dedication she had towards Jirocho makes her a very real and well written character that I genuinely appreciate and enjoy now, and she belongs in the A tier for me. The blue haired Elfamanto character. She was somewhat disappointing after her badass character introduction and a gorgeously villainous character design. She ended up not being a good character with great moments like a lot of the others did. Shinpachi. Shinpachi for me is the most underrated character of the entire series, which is a weird statement to make because he probably has the second most amount of screen time in the entire story. Yet people don't seem to care for him that much because he's the straight man who's more often than not the punching bag of the jokes a lot of the times. I wasn't a huge fan of him for a lot of the story, but by the end after finishing the final arc, I couldn't stop denying how much I loved his character. The growth he has as a person, the determination and courage he had despite being an ordinary kid is so admirable and refreshing. His entire journey throughout Gintama was really special for me. I still like Gintoki and Kagura more than Shinpachi, but I can't deny that Shinpachi isn't in my top 10 Gintama characters. The other straight man character, Yamazaki. I find Yamazaki and his behavior very cute and wholesome. I like his origin story from being a delinquent person from the countryside to being a somewhat disciplined police officer that you can't help but love. Sogo. Sogo is great. The way he acts around the rest of the cast and his personality in general is very appealing to me. He bounces off with the others so well. I especially love his dynamic with Kagura and Hijikata. He's definitely another S tier. Mitsuba. Mitsuba arc was the arc that made me truly invested in Gintama as a series. It made me cry seeing the story of Mitsuba. She was someone who didn't want to be left behind by her friends and her brother, and when she finally found someone she loved, the person was just simply using her to get to the Shinsengumi, and she ended up leaving everyone behind forever. A simple but tragic and lovable character that really impacted me. She's another character who's definitely going to be in the A tier for me. Tsukishima. One of my favorite characters of Karasuno. I loved his journey from being a douchey silent character who didn't really show emotion to a person that thrived with it in the most important matches. A truly inspiring volleyball character. B tier. Kundo. Kundo is one of my favorite characters of the series. What I love about him is his brand of leadership. He's always a grounded person walking alongside his followers and the people of Edo as if he's one of their own. It's the same brand of leadership as Shigeshige's, and I love that. All of his peaks are absolutely amazing, and one of the highlights of my Gintama journey is an amazing character and deserves to be at least in the S tier. Otae. I personally think Otae is a wonderful character. She tries her best in everything she does for her and her family. Every character trait she has is very feminine in a way at its absolute best. The only problem for me in regards to her character is that she doesn't peak as a character that much in the stories. She has a supportive background role and I wished we saw more of her in other ways. Kuzenigata. I get the feeling that he's hated in the community because of how draggy his sections are, but I personally found him to be quite okay. I think it's mostly because I like the voice actor who plays him, Itsuno Anna. She's an S tier character just for her name alone. But seriously though, I do think she's a good positive presence in the series, regardless of how minimal her role is. Hedero. I like Hedero a lot. I like the nuance behind his gag a lot. I love how he's just a peaceful, kind guy, but everyone around him is scared of him. It reminds me of a series called Angel Densetsu. It's a great comedy delinquent manga that I highly recommend to you guys if you haven't read it. It's kind of like Mob Psycho, but if Mob was like Hedero. B tier. Unjo. I literally forgot who you were until I made this video. Matako. She's fine, I guess. I'm not a big fan of her character or her origin story. I do think she's still a great character compared to a lot of the plain mediocre female side characters that are oversaturated in shonen these days. Lolicon Janai Feministo guy. He's funny. I like his phrase a lot and I think his dynamic with Matako is hilarious. Madao. Madao is an amazing character. He's one of the best parts of Gintama for me and I love every second he is on screen. Gintama's portrayal of loneliness and homeless people is so real and wonderful, and representing someone in the abyss of society in such an inspiring real way is outstanding. He's one of my all-time favorite Gintama characters despite him not playing a huge role in most of the big action-centric arcs. Tetsunosuke. He's okay, I guess, mid-tier. Saito. Saito is kind of fun. Let's just put him in the B tier. No, let's put him in the C tier. Matsudaira. Matsudaira is one of those characters like Kozenigata who is solely carried by his voice actor for me. Wakamoto Norio's exaggerated over-the-top performance is super fun. Other than that, I find him to be an unimpressive Mei character who didn't leave an impression on me for the most part. Shigeshige. Shigeshige's character journey was an outstanding one from start to finish. From a young age, he was used as a puppet leader by the previous shogun and manipulated all his life. Yet he wanted to do good for his people as his country's leader. He was very self-aware of his lack of power and ignorance of the way normal people lived their lives. He wanted to know more about ordinary people and was always a victim of the Gintama caste and their shenanigans. He never punished anyone in the caste for humiliating and abusing him, and he was always a humble leader trying to learn more about his people and his country. He loved his country but also wanted to be a normal person spending time with his sister. I just love his character a lot, and his characterization is something that impacted me for the long run. Undoubtedly in the S tier category for me. Sayo. Sayo was surprisingly an admirable character by the end as well. I enjoyed how she was one of those characters who brought peace and stability to the country, inheriting both the wills of Shigeshige and Nobunobu. Hattori. Arguably the most tragic character of the entire series in the present time. It breaks my heart to think that even after all the sacrifices Senzo did in Shogun Assassination arc, including killing one of his mates, he couldn't protect Shigeshige. He's such a badass character for the entirety of the arc, and I love his voice actor a lot, Sachan. She's another amazing character who's consistently entertaining on screen. The sadism and masochism jokes are all hilarious, and the way she stalks Kintoki is super funny as well. Her character journey is beautiful, but more than all of her amazing serious moments, what's really special for me about her is her endearing fun personality. While serious arcs in Gintama are definitely amazing, there's an equal or arguably more emphasis given to the more funny episodes and arcs of the series, and Sachan truly shines in those sections for me. Sada Sada, piece of shit, D tier. Banzai. I think he's a good character with a solid character conclusion. I'll give him a B tier. Saburo. Saburo is one of my favorite antagonists of the entire show, and I find him to be somewhat underappreciated in the Gintama fandom. I found his personality to be quite endearing, and the way his serious demeanor bounced off with the rest of the cast was fascinating to me. He was the Oberstein of Gintama, and if you got this reference, you're cultured as hell, by the way. The tragedy of his character, with him losing his wife and his newborn kid, and him building a father daughter relationship with a person whom he believed killed his family, was also complex and beautiful in my opinion. The way he clashed with Hijikata and Kondo, and how different he was as a police officer and a revolutionary compared to them, was great, and I think he's a character right up there with the best antagonists of the show. A great S tier character. Nobume. Nobume was a character that I instantly fell in love with from the start of her introduction. I love Kudere's character archetypes in general, and Nobume was aesthetic as hell, coupled with a gorgeous voice and a mysterious but still quirky personality. That in itself made me instantly fall in love with her. Throughout the later arcs after her introduction, we saw more and more of her sides, and it was all just so appealing to me. And her character arc and dynamic with Uzaburo is one of my favorite character arcs of the entire show. I want to someday make an entire video of Isaburo and Nobume's dynamic in Farewell Shinsengumi arc. But that's a video for another day, and she's going straight into the S tier. When I was writing my brief write-up of each character before I started recording myself, Gintoki was the hardest character to write about. It was like trying to pick a dish from the best buffet you can imagine. Everything about him is just so perfect that I didn't know how to summarize him. From his amazing character design to his subtle and nuanced characterization to the top tier character dynamics he has with everyone else in the series. With every few dozens of episodes, I loved Gintoki more and more. He was so different from almost every single protagonist in anime, and he really embodies a lot of the amazing themes and messages that Gintama has to offer. In such a huge, amazing cast of characters, Gintoki still stands head and shoulders above everyone else. He's definitely a top 3 Japanese fictional character for me, and a character of the highest order. Kintoki. What's great about Kintoki to me is his parallels and dynamic with Gintoki. Kintoki arc was an arc that really showcases and spoon feeds us how great and unique of a protagonist Gintoki is by using Kintoki as a mirror and a shadow. So rather than the character itself, I love what he did for the series to bring up the value of Gintoki. His sacrifice at the end of the Silver Soul arc was great as well. Sadaharu. Sadaharu is the embodiment of everything great about dogs. The unconditional love and loyalty, the occasional playfulness and the naughtiness. He's an irreplaceable member of the Yorozuya family and the cast of Gintama as a whole. Hijikata. Hijikata was a character who I always loved from the start. He has interesting dynamics with everyone. His Toshi persona was very fun and wacky. He has arguably the 4th most screen time in the entire series after the Yorozuya 3. But he's a character who grew on me a lot after I finished the series, and he was always one of those characters who was rent-free in my head. I think he's my favorite Shinsengumi character and a top 6 Gintama character in general. Easily an S tier for me. Umibozu. Umibozu is surprisingly a very complex and relatable character. There's not much focus given to him, but I really like how he left his family at the start to help find a cure to his wife's illness, but at the process, he started distancing himself from them because he feared his own Yato instincts that almost led him to kill his own son. And in the process of distancing himself, he got his family fractured. I think there's a lot of nuance and depth to his character, and I think he deserves to be at least in the A tier. Kamui. Kamui had my favorite character introduction in all of Gintama. From the get go, he felt like an amazing, intriguing character, and his fight with Hosen really shook me up and helped me see potential in Gintama as a series to be something truly special. He felt like a combination of Hisoka and Itachi, two characters that I really love put together, and Kamui didn't disappoint. He had a lot of nuance and humanity in him, like every single one of Gintama's antagonists, and his dynamic with most of the characters are amazing and goosebump inducing. Oboro. Oboro was a fascinating character. Right from the get go, he had a past history with Gintoki. He was one of the characters who went toe to toe with Gintoki in his Shiroyasha days and survived. His mannerisms and his boss personality, that is somewhat different from Kamui's, is super fun and interesting. His senior pupil related content was wholesome and gave us a really human perspective of the character as well. I think is really great. Nobunobu. I'm still not sure who I like between Shigeshige and Nobunobu. While Shigeshige had an extraordinarily good characterization to him, Nobunobu's character progression was almost equally as good. His journey from being a stuck up privileged douchebag character and a poor leader who didn't care about the lives of his citizens to someone who really regretted the way he lived his life and he deserves to be in the S tier. Takasugi. Takasugi's character writing and recontextualization throughout the series is simply masterful. I used to be one of those people who didn't vibe with Takasugi for most of the story. I just saw him as this emo edgy antagonist character that always yells shunny stuff like I wanna watch the world burn. But in a short period of time, he got so much amazing character development which really changed our entire perspective of him in the Shogun assassination arc. His dynamic with Gintoki is something truly one of a kind, and it's up there with one of my favorite protagonist-antagonist dynamic in all of fiction. Takasugi is undoubtedly one of my top 3 Gintama characters. He was phenomenal throughout the series ever since we knew more about him. And the character conclusion he got was just perfect. Truly the best antagonist of the series for me and one of my top 3 Gintama characters ever. Utsuro. I'm one of those Gintama fans who see Shoyo and Utsuro as a single character with different personalities because of his life experiences and trauma. Initially, Utsuro didn't leave as big of an impression on me as Takasugi did, but as time passed after I finished the series, he started aging really well for me. He's a really unique, memorable character that I think about a lot. Characters with different personas or having multiple personality disorders due to their life experiences or to cope with their terrible life is one of my favorite character tropes in fiction. And Utsuro brought that to Gintama in a really interesting, nuanced way. I love how Sorachi was able to make the final boss a very personal character to Gintoki. Even though the stakes of the final arc were very high, Utsuro being deeply connected to Gintoki made the story so personal, and Gintama at its heart is a very personal, heartfelt story. Utsuro is an awesome, complex character that I appreciate the more I think about him. He'll either be in the highest of A tiers or the lowest of S tiers for me, and I think I'm leaning more towards an A. So yeah, this is my final tier list. Gintoki, Takasugi and Kagura are my top 3 Gintama characters and my all-time favorites. Gintama has undoubtedly the richest cast of characters that I've experienced in an anime, and each and every one of those characters are given the spotlight every second Sorachi can give. They all contribute to its overarching theme of empathy, togetherness, and society. If you're one of those people who have reached to this point in the video, or the many people who skipped over the entire video to look at the final tier list, please do consider supporting my channel by sharing it around and subscribing to it. I want to get to 1000 subscribers before the end of this year or the start of next year. Thank you guys and have a wonderful day.